Okay, so here we are again. We've got the PXE boot server running, and the laptop is here. So I've got this connected through a USB to Ethernet adapter on the main desktop, so I can still use my internet while I'm doing this. I don't know whether it will work like that, so we can find out together. Hopefully it will, because that's why I bought it. So first I need to change this to BIOS mode, because it's a relatively new laptop and I haven't got the PXE booting for EFI working yet. So let's do that. Here we go. Right, so I have to go to advanced. I've done this too many times. Here we go. Right, so then save and exit. And it should try and boot, hopefully. Hopefully it'll try and do it itself. Okay, that's a good sign. Please work. Okay. I'm going to bring up a terminal on the desktop and check that I did set the network configuration up right, because more than likely I didn't. Well, apparently it's set up right. Okay. That's probably not good. USB Ethernet, blah blah blah. Yep, that looks right, so why isn't this working? Okay, so what I'm going to do is pause the video, switch it over to the other one, the internal Ethernet card, and go from there. I'll fix it later. Okay, right, so we should, I'll just check quickly. Yep, okay, so that should be fine. So if I hit enter, it will try again, and it should work this time. Hopefully. There we go. Right, I don't know why it wasn't working, but here we go. So let's try something different. And actually, while we do this, here we go, we can see network speed, which will be about 10 megabytes per second, because for some reason this laptop only has 10/100 Ethernet. Don't know why. Here we go. So this is always a bit slower, but it's not that much data, so it's alright. So you can also see the activity here, and on the laptop you can see that it is now booting. And setting up hardware. So it's just given the network configuration, and it's connected. Okay, yeah, so for some reason the Ubuntu boot is normally faster. I don't know why. I didn't bother turning a splash screen on for these, because while I was testing it was kind of... I don't know, I never tried it, but I was just debugging it so much of the time when I was trying to make it work with the other laptop. I don't really have the will to try it in case it messes something up. Yeah, so something it will do is at this point it sort of looks like it's frozen, but looking at the screen on the PC you can see it's still sending data. So it's just being a bit slow. There we go, now we have a mouse pointer. Hopefully you can see that. And in a minute we'll get the login screen, or we'll just log us straight into the desktop. I can't remember how I set this one up. I'm kind of impressed this one works, because this is the development version of Ubuntu 18.4, because it's not been released at the time of filming, but it still works. Come on. There we go. It's not a particularly fast laptop, so that probably has something to do with it. There we go. yeah, it's quite good for me because it's an AMD based laptop. It's a completely different thing for me to test on, but now it's going. All of this stuff, like, what did I do last time? I'm not going to open the software center again because when I did that on Fedora, it just crashed the machine. Let's try it. Probably a bad idea, but let's do it anyway. Yeah, so all of this stuff will just work, and as before it's all persistent, so I could install updates like this. Why I would, I don't know, because this laptop's much slower than the desktop, but... Okay, so it works fine, and I didn't have to mess with the wired stuff on the newer Ubuntu releases to stop it interfering. Which is good, so less configuration. I didn't see it wait for the disks either. So I'm going to show you something quickly, which is... There's a little hack you can do, because I found at first it would wait one full 1.5 minutes when it was looking for the disks, which it would never find. But you can change that. So if you go to... I think it might be this one. I think it's this one, I'm not sure. If I can't find it, I will put a link to it. Here we go. Oh, I didn't change it on this one. So default timeout start sec and default timeout stop sec are 90 seconds. But if you're getting hangs on boot, you can... What I did was set it to 15. Because if I set it to any less than that, I found it made... I'll just change this back, seeing as I don't need it. If I made it any less than that, sometimes it messed up booting on the actual hardware, which is a bit of a pain. But 15 is short enough that I can wait for that without being too impatient. Okay. I'll stick that in a post as well, so you can, so you know how to do it properly, because, like, saying a little thing recorded on a video camera is not particularly handy with a voiceover. So let's do a Fedora release, which means I'm going to have to turn this off because I've still got Fedora 26 connected to that machine, and we might as well try something a bit newer. So back to the screen, I'll log in, power down, and on my other screen you won't be able to actually I'll show you. Okay, I can't, because I can't move the little dialogue around without moving the whole thing, which is a bit of a pain, because it'll just make that screen super messy and far too much detail. Right. Oh, this is the wrong thing. Okay, so PXE boot server, settings. So I'll just replace Fedora 26 with Fedora 28, which is also pre-release, but also works somehow. Here we go. Right. So, start it again. While that starts. Okay, so that's starting. While that's starting... No, actually I won't do that because it won't work. Okay, so that's nearly done now. Did it mount Fedora? Let me check. Because I changed the name of the LVM thing to Fedora from Fedora root to something else. So I'm just going to check that this has done it. Which it hasn't. Okay, I'll do it manually. Fedora... Yeah, they changed it to that for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because this is a beta. Okay. Right, now we can do it. So turn the laptop back on again, because it can't boot in BIOS mode. We'll try and do network boot. Like so. There we go. Fedora 28. The only difference with these boot options is they use a different kernel and initial RAM file system. So with the Fedora ones I could probably boot Fedora 28 with the kernel from 26, but it might not work. It's worth just using the new ones. So this will be slow, because for some reason it's slower on actual hardware than it is in a virtual machine. Getting Fedora to boot, I don't know why, it's just a bit slow, but it does work. Oh, okay, famous last words, it's just doing it, I think. Yeah, maybe, is it? No, okay, so that was all of the initial RAM file system stuff, and now the network's come up, because you can see it says link up, link becomes ready. You can probably see a lovely reflection of my door at the moment. It's exciting. And here we go, it's connected, and it's booting. This will be a bit slow because we've only got 10/100 Ethernet on this laptop, but surprisingly enough it's still perfectly usable. I thought it might be horrendously slow, but it's fine. Yeah, so here's our... Okay, so here's what I was telling you about. We've got this long wait of 1 minute 30 seconds because it's looking for the local drives, which it won't find, and that's because I haven't changed that setting. So what we're going to have to do is just wait 1 minute 30 seconds, and then because I've given the no fail option for those drives, it will just, partitions, it will continue booting anyway and ignore that it hasn't mounted them, which is fine. Yeah, so I'll change that, or actually I won't, because this is a development release, so I'll probably reinstall the virtual machine when the stable one comes out, because I've found before upgrading from development to stable releases normally doesn't work, or doesn't work well anyway when I've done it. Well, these are all supposed to be like clean slate machines anyway, which is partially why I wanted to do this without modifying them if at all possible, apart from that boot timeout thing. That's so there's the no fail option in the FS tab, and there's that boot timeout thing, and on 14.4 only there's that network configuration thing. Oh, did I not do the no fail thing? I think I did do that, didn't I? Yay, I've shown you a demonstration of something working, except it actually doesn't work because I haven't configured it properly. Right, let's go back to the screen and I'll do it properly. It's quite helpful because these are all connected to the boot server. I can just edit them from in here if it doesn't boot up. Yep, I haven't done it properly. Here we go. So I guess this is quite informative. No fail, no fail, no fail, so that's that one. And also I think the reason the network was funny in Ubuntu 14.4 is because it uses System V. Okay, so here are those settings. I'll change them both to 15 seconds because I'm impatient, and it would be nice if I could show you this working. I don't think that's going to do anything, so I'll just power it down and turn it back on. Actually, I suppose it doesn't matter if my USB network adapter can't PXE, well, I can't PXE boot with it because I can just use it for the internet access. And then I can PXE boot of the internal one. That's fine. Okay, let's try this again. This time it should work. Yay for like actually checking things work before I demonstrate that they're working. I'm a smart guy sometimes. Right. Okay, so setting up the network card. Link becomes ready. Yeah, I guess this one just boots faster than Fedora 26, which I can't moan about. So in a minute we'll get, yeah, there you go, welcome to Fedora 28, that's what we want, that means we know it's working. So this time we'll get like a 15-second pause while it looks for the drives, which should be around here, because it says reach target local file systems. There we go. That's our timeout gone, and it should finish booting up this time. As I said, no fail, so it will just ignore that it didn't mount them. No display manager, user manager, okay. So, now it probably looks like nothing's happening, but as with last time, if you go back to the screen, you can see that it's still sending data. But it's just because it's only 10/100 Ethernet. I think the reason it's fast still is because most of the issues with it being slow is because hard drives are slow reading small files in random places, whereas the SSD isn't. So even though we've got the 10 megabyte per second cap, that wasn't the cause of the slowness before when I was doing it with a hard drive. So login screen, I have to use the button because I haven't set that up either, the touchpad. Okay, so now we'll log in. Yeah, Fedora ones tend to run a bit slower on this laptop for some reason. Mind you, I always found Fedora tended to run a bit slower in general, but I'm not sure why. Shouldn't make any difference, really. But I can see from the screen we're still sending data, so it is working. Here we go. I'm just quite impatient. But that's still pretty quick, really. Like, it's quick enough for me to do software testing on it, which is the important thing. And my mouse isn't. There we go. I think it's just still loading stuff. Oh, I know why it didn't work with the network card. It's because, going back to the screen, if I go to machine settings, this is a bridged network adapter, and I've bridged it to the wrong network card, because I'm clever. Yeah, so this is now done. It's not really sending any data anymore, so I figured it was best to wait, because 10/100 Ethernet is not super able to deal with many things happening at the same time. So we're not going to open that because it will ruin everything. Let's open settings. There we go. Most of the slowness here is because of the speed of the laptop, I think. It's a dual core 1.4 GHz AMD pile driver based CPU, which is fine. It's not fast, but it's not too slow. There we go. So 5.4 gigabytes of RAM, here we go. AMD E1 1200 APU, that's what it is. AMD Palm graphics, I didn't know that, I thought it was just Radeon. And we've got 35 gigs of space, which is a lie, I think. Let's check. Yes, that's also a lie. It's 20 gigs, but whatever. Okay, and GNOME 3.28. So we're not going to do updates this way, although we could, because the CPU on this laptop will just make it very slow. So we can shut down now, because I've demonstrated it to you and the other things, because I did set it up properly, which is, I guess, kind of helpful, because you can see how you set it up in practice. Okay. So, I hope you enjoyed that, and the next post will be coming soon. Until then,